Hey guys, it's Katie, and I'm here today to do my 2019 TBR. And when I say my 2019 TBR, I mean my TBR for the entire year. So, as you might have seen a couple of days ago, this video, I am changing some things on my channel, and one of those things is doing monthly TBRs. With this year being as crazy and chaotic as it is, I just don't think it's going to work out. Plus, I'm just not exactly the biggest fan of doing monthly TBRs, I kind of realized. So I'm just gonna be doing something a little bit different this year, and I'm gonna be experimenting and doing some new things for your viewing pleasure. But one other thing that you guys should know is from May to roughly the middle of August, you won't really be seeing me personally much because I'll be studying for the bar exam. But I'm planning on pre-filming a lot of stuff, and so you guys don't completely lose me for 3 months. I'm just gonna pre-film a lot of tags or something, and then just have them go up, like maybe one video a week or something. This video is probably going to be a little bit on the longer side, as might as well jump into all the books that I'm planning on reading. So you know, these books that I'm going to talk about are in really no particular order, just kind of whatever is closest to me. But let's just jump right on in. One of the books I want to read in 2019 is Ship of Gold, In the Deep Blue Sea by Carrie Kinder. And from the little that I understand about this book is it follows the kind of like this underwater disaster. I think it might be a nonfiction or a historical fiction novel about a ship called the SS Central America, which is a side wheel steamer and was carrying passengers kind of, I think it's during the 1857, and then in the 1980s someone finds the ship or something, and it's some kind of a suspenseful thriller, maybe? I don't know too much about it. Obviously, I'm kind of looking at the back of this book, but I think this is one of my parents' books that just kind of looked kind of interesting, and I decided to pick it up. But yeah, I'm kind of interested to get to this one in 2019. The next book I'm planning on getting to is Shibumi by Trevanyan, and this is some kind of a another thriller, I believe, and it is, I think, dealing with some kind of like secret agency, kind of like a Bourne, maybe, kind of like a Ludlum kind of book, but I'm not sure. But this one's actually coming on vacation with me in a couple of days, so I'll make sure to let you guys know how I like this one. And then at some point I'd like to get to The Nine Tailors by Dorothy L. Sayers. And I think this is another like mystery suspenseful thing. I mean, obviously I'm I've created a bit of a theme here. But this one was recommended to me by a friend of mine, and I just happened to have it on my shelf, and it just sounds really fun and interesting, and I'm excited to pick this one up too. And then I'm also going to read The Summer of Katya by also by Trevanyan. And this is, I think, a gothic horror, gothic romance novel. And I mean, this is the book that inspired my name, so I figured I might as well give it a shot and see what I think of it. And next is The Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson. I also don't really know anything about this book, but I got it as a gift a while back, and a friend was helping me pick out my TBR for my physical books, which is why you're seeing all these first. And she said that she'd heard really good things about it, and so I just decided, hey, it's on my shelf, and I've got it, and it's something that kind of looks interesting, so I figured I'd pick it up in 2019. And so here we are. And then I'm planning on reading Roma by Stephen Saylor. And basically what this is it is a historical fiction telling of Rome's history. And it's actually a duology. The second book I actually also have. It's over there. I haven't decided if I'm going to get to it in 2019 or not. But it follows, it's a really chunky book. So we'll see how I feel about this, but it kind of seems to be giving me some kind of James Michener vibes, where it's like telling a specific country or specific place's history throughout the years, and it's told in a very interesting and historical fiction-y kind of way. And because I like a lot of Stephen Saylor's other novels that I've read, I figured that this would be really interesting, and I also love ancient Rome, and that's what this is detailing. I'm going to read Emma by Jane Austen. This is another Jane Austen book that I haven't read yet, and from what I've heard from a lot of people, I'm expecting to really, really enjoy this. Emma actually sounds like she kind of reminds me of myself, because I'm also of a matchmakery kind of mind, only I seem to be a little bit more subtle than Emma is. But we'll see. I've really enjoyed all of the Jane Austen novels that I've read so far, and I'm excited to jump into Emma. Another book I'm planning on reading in 2019 is Dragon Rider by Cornelia Funke, or Funk. I haven't decided. I don't know how to pronounce it. But this seems to be a spin-off of an earlier series, which I haven't read, and it's middle grade, and I mean, while it looks large, the text is quite large, so I'll probably get through it pretty quickly. But it seems to be kind of it's just all about these kids and their relationships with dragons, I think, or something. I think this might have been a spin-off from the Inkheart series, but I'm not entirely sure about that. I do know this is the first one in this particular series, so I'm hoping I'll be able to figure it out pretty quickly. Last of my physical books that I'm planning on reading in 2019 is The Children of Húrin by J.R.R. Tolkien. If you guys have read The Silmarillion, you will kind of have an inkling, I made a pun, an inkling of knowing what this book is about. It follows some specific characters. My understanding is that this follows a set of specific characters that we met in the Silmarillion, and I guess maybe their adventures or their history or something. But basically, I love the Silmarillion. I love Tolkien. You know, I want to keep going and read as much of him, if not all of his books, at some point, if I can. All of the next books that I'm going to mention that are on my TBR for 2019 are ebooks, and there were a lot of them, so strap in. So the first one I'm planning on reading is, or I should say rereading, is Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. I was talking with Vendi from Caught Between Pages just throughout 2018, and Peter Pan was one of her favorite books, and I loved Peter Pan as a kid, and I haven't reread it in a long time. But it's interesting because I'm going back to the Cayman Islands in a couple of days, and that is a book that I heavily associate with being there, and so I think it'll be a really good time to reread it while I am there. And another book I'm planning on reading is Fear, Trump in the White House by Bob Woodward. I mean, I feel like it's a really important book to read, and it would be really interesting reading it from Bob Woodward, who was one of the guys who dealt with Watergate with Nixon. He was one of the main reporters on that. So I think it would be really interesting seeing what he has to say about what's currently going on in our world and in our society right now. I'm planning on reading Truth Witch by Susan Dennard, which is the first book in the Witchland series. This is another book that Vendi from Caught Between Pages literally adores, and I have heard nothing but great things about it, particularly from her, and she's just really inspired me to want to read it. And then also because it is based off of Croatia, the Croatian coast, and I am from that, or my ethnic heritage is from that general area. It's the former Yugoslavia. It would just be super cool to see how that all pans out in the book, and just so those two things alone are enough to prioritize that book on to the top of my list. And I'm also planning on reading The Soul of America, The Battle for Our Better Angels by John Meacham. John Meacham is a really well-known American historian, and he's written this really interesting book and my mom read it, and she's highly, highly recommending that I pick it up. It sounds really interesting, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading it. And then I'm planning on reading The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. If you've been on BookTube for any amount of time for the last year, you would know what this book is about. But basically, Evelyn Hugo is a Puerto Rican starlet from Hollywood in the early 1900s sometime. And she's basically telling this reporter her life story. And I've just heard it's absolutely stunning, absolutely incredible. And it just sounds, honestly, it sounds like it's right up my alley. And I can't wait to pick it up. I've heard it spoken about very, very highly from a lot of people that I talk to on BookTube. And I'm just really, really looking forward to reading it. Next up is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I am jumping on this bandwagon very, very late. I can't wait to read this book because I've heard nothing but phenomenal things from pretty much everybody about it. And I know the movie just came out a couple of months ago, and I heard really great things about that too. And I figure I should jump on this bandwagon and read this very, very powerful book about the Black Lives Matter movement. It is Circe by Madeline Miller. Last year I read The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, and I fell absolutely in love with her writing and her style and just the way that she does everything. She's a classicist, and she's just done a phenomenal, phenomenal job of taking a specific part in history and expanding on it based on her knowledge, but also just retelling stories of these beloved characters that we know. And I really just can't wait to dive into this book because I am just dying to read it. Next is The Land of Silver Apples by Nancy Farmer. If you remember, 2 years ago I read The Sea of Trolls by Nancy Farmer, and absolutely adored it, and I'm literally just gonna plug it again. If you guys are really interested in learning about some new fantasy things and you want it to be Vikings based with the language included and somewhat accurate historical tellings, definitely pick this series up. It's really good. And this is the second book in this series. We are once again with our characters, and they're going on another journey. And that's all I know about it because I don't want to spoil myself for it, but I'm just super excited to finally jump into it. And then I'm going to read some Brandon Sanderson at some point or another during this next year. Whether it's the Mistborn trilogy or the Stormlight Archive, I haven't decided yet. I was talking to Shelby from Read and Find Out, and originally she said you should start with Mistborn, but then she kind of changed her mind and said that I could start with Stormlight if I'd like. So we'll see what I end up doing, but there will be some Brandon Sanderson in my future in 2019 in some way, shape, or form. The next, I'm picking up this sci-fi series called The Atlantis Grail, and I'm going to be starting with the first book called Qualify, and it's by Vera Nazarian. One of my IRL friends has read the whole series, and she just really, really needs someone to talk to this series about, and I'm definitely her main reading friend, and so I figure I would check it out and see how I feel about it. But I'm very iffy with sci-fi, so we'll see how it goes. Read another book called Silent in the Grave by Deanna Rayburn, and basically the little that I know about this book is it's a kind of a murder, mystery, historical fiction kind of a thing that takes place in England, and that's about all I know. It sounded intriguing when I read the summary, and I just decided I better pick it up because I actually have the second book in physical form, but I figured I should read the first one first so I can kind of know what's going on. So yeah, we'll see what happens. And then I'm going to reread The Bones of You by Laura Stone. I've talked about this book a little bit before. Basically, it follows these two young adults, boys who were in a relationship in high school, and then they broke up and went their separate ways, and now, I think it's 5 years later, certain events are bringing them back together again, and it's just all about their journey back to finding love and how to deal with the new things that have come out of their lives kind of since then. It's a really cute book. Would recommend. It's new adult, I believe, and I really, really liked it when I read it when it came out, and I'm gonna see how I feel about it again upon this reread. Then my plan is to complete the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. I have books 2 through 5 to finish, so I'll be starting with Sea of Monsters. I read The Lightning Thief last February, and I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, I'm garbage for anything classics and mythology, and that's just right up my alley. And I know it's like funny and adorable, and I'm just really looking forward to getting back with Percy. Then next, I'm going to start An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I've heard nothing but phenomenal things about this series, and this is another book series that one of my very, very dear friends from undergrad has recommended to me, and I'm just really, really, really looking forward to reading it. I'm going to plan on reading A Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I've read snippets here and there, and I've seen a lot of adaptations floating around, but I've never actually read the book. So it's time for me to read this book. And basically what it's about is this man gets his portrait painted, and the portrait ages, but he stays young. And but the trick is he can't look, if he looks upon his own portrait, then he basically dies. So I mean, it's a really interesting concept and a really interesting book, and I can't wait to pick it up. I'm going to treat myself. This is the book I'm literally looking forward to reading for the entire year. And it's called The Pillars of the Earth, which is the first book in the Kingsbridge series by Ken Follett. And people that I know that have actually read this book have nothing but phenomenal things to say about it. And I'm super excited about it. Basically, my understanding of what it's about is it is an epic tale of building a medieval cathedral in England in the 12th century. And that's pretty much all I know. I mean, I've heard there's a lot more to it, like a lot of political intrigue and a lot of different following specific people's lives and things, and it just sounds so, so good. But it is a very, very, very large book, so I know I'll probably have to save it for the end of the year, maybe. But I am dying, and I mean dying, to get to this book, and I just can't wait. And then I'm also planning on getting to the third book in the Winter Night trilogy, which I believe is coming out later this month. I read or will be finishing that The Bear and the Nightingale, and the second book, The Witch in the Tower, I think is what it's called. I am just super excited to get to the third one, especially since it's going to be a new release that I'll hopefully be able to read. And then I might have 2 buddy reads. The first being reading A Game of Thrones with one of my undergrad friends. We've been talking about doing it for a while, but it's kept getting in the way and it just hasn't happened. So hopefully this year we manage to pull it off, but we'll see what happens. And then the second one, I don't know if this is official or not. If it is, that's great. If it's not, that's also fine. But Vendi and I talked about reading Les Mis together, because it's a really large book, and it just seems like it would be a really, really good book to have a reading buddy to read it with. So we'll see if we can manage to squeeze it in over maybe the course of the year or something. But if it doesn't work out, then it's fine. But yeah, those are all the books that I have for right now. There are a few others that are in reserves if I need or have time, because I managed to haul a lot over the last couple of months. But I'm really excited for all of the books that I've already mentioned, and as I said, we'll see what happens with some of the other ones. And yeah, if you guys have read any of these books, please feel free to let me know what you thought of them down below, what your favorite is, whether I should prioritize one over another. But don't forget, May through August will pretty much be empty, and I won't be reading anything. I'll be going on a reading ban slash fast because I won't be able to focus otherwise, and I need to focus. Like I need to focus on the bar. It's my ultimate priority for the year. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's about all I've got. So you know the drill. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media. I have a Twitter and a Goodreads, which as always are linked down below. And I will come back with another video for you guys again soon. Okay, bye.